The talk you're about to see is a pretty big one, so open your heart, take a deep breath, and relax, enjoy, and see if something shifts for you. Also, please make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel so I can give you more new awesome things, including a guided meditation coming up soon. We have so many ways that we think of freedom, that when I'm out of this thing, when the country's free, for some people, when I'm out of prison, everyone wants freedom. That's the number one goal we have. And one of the things I want to talk about is the two types of freedom. You know, a lot of people want freedom on the external, and very few people even know that they're in prison inside. You know, I had a really big insight this morning, and what it was saying was that hope is actually your ego's way of escaping the light that you are. It was trippy because there are so many things that the now would like to show you. But there's layers of pain and smallness and lies and fear. And the light that you are in this now is where your actual freedom is. You could be in a physical prison and totally free. And I'm not against having freedom in all areas. Of course, the country should be free and we need freedom, freedom from the wrong things or whatever, but very often we just make all the external things free, but we're not free inside. And if you're not free inside, then you're going to actually unconsciously kind of re-imprison yourself. So a lot of times when people get their circumstances changed into what they want, but they don't free themselves inside, they kind of just turn into a kid in the candy store. Like they might just be like, okay, I'm free to eat whatever I want. Okay, but all these needy energies are still inside. So you might just become addicted because you have the ability to be anything you want. You're so free, but it's really freeing to sometimes not have that ability for a second too. I'm not saying we don't want to free the external, but inside is a you that would like to be freed by you. It would like to know what you truly are. If you're constantly in your head about the past and the future, you're not free. If you are constantly looking up things and worried and you have fear in your body, you're not free. If you have fear in your body, you're not free. There's different things in your body that are in a place trying to seek freedom externally, and that's because it's in its own prison. And the one that's trying to seek external is actually something you've used to escape you. So I want you to notice right now, if you just take a deep breath in, I want to just show you something that you might see is insane. And just seeing the insanity of it is an awakening. Before I do this, I take a deep breath in and release it. You know, Eckhart Tolle was speaking in his book, A New Earth, about that he saw a person that obviously had something insane going on a subway, I think. And it was a woman just talking to herself. And she was like, so I told the guy and I told him blah, blah, blah. And I told that person and they said no. And just a person kind of talking to themselves, having some kind of mental health crisis. And then Eckhart said he saw that. And then he went to the bathroom, I think, to wash his hands. And he was thinking about her. And he realized what he's doing is the same as her, but he's doing it with his mouth closed. It's the same thing. And our mind is like when you see a person with an issue talking to the air, but we're just doing it quietly. And you'll just right now start to think, whatever. Right now, the whole country's thinking about whatever they want in politics. Right now, so many people, and they're all escaping to next week, and they're missing the light that they are. And they're grabbing and attaching to circumstances because they think that will free them. And it might not, but then they'll still be with themselves. And there's this really big opportunity to just listen for a minute. And just for a minute, I want to dare you to watch your mind. Just watch it. Watch a story, watch a pattern, watch all the fears, and then even watch your hope-based solution for the fear that it came up with. Watch your mind go to what could go wrong, what you're worried about, how you felt unseen, and just watch it like it's someone else for a minute. You just watch, like just take a minute and watch. Watch what it does. Now, if you were to just watch that for a while, the voice would go and go and go, and then eventually nothing would fuel it. So it would come out if you just keep watching it. Because if you sit undistracted, you will start to connect to the field. And the field is much more of what you are than the space that's coming up with all the voices. And you'll realize that there's a you that really is a small story that you think is you, and it is scared. That's the truest thing it could say. I'm scared. I'm scared of an outcome. I'm scared of being seen. I'm scared of something in the world. I'm scared. And if we become present, we see this energy that's scared. And then you start to realize you're this space that sees it. And if you keep listening and you keep watching, you'll start to hear deeper things, and then it will just leave. It will just become tears, or it'll just be done. And you will move wider and wider to a whole field. And it was interesting because I was talking with both Amber and a one-on-one I had today about this idea of we want to be happy. And I want to offer there's several layers here. There's a lot of sadness in our body from conditioning, a lot of fear and pain in our body. And we don't want to feel that. So we create a artificial happiness, a happiness that's here to mask stuff. That's what alcohol can do. That's what, friends that you can gossip with or stay on this frequency or just aiming for happy, but because under it, there's a lot of sad. And I promise you, God isn't necessarily wanting that far of a separation from God, that you're literally layers of like, there's the God you, there's all that is. Then there's traumas that happen and patterns and conditioning from challenges in childhood. So there's a lot of sadness, misery, pain. Then there's, I don't want to feel that. So I'm going to become an achiever. I'm going to go party. I'm going to whatever. There's a lot of justification, excuses, all these different things. Because we think the number one goal is to be happy when there's this beautiful bed of sadness. And there's this fake happiness that's what we kind of created in the world. Like a lot of the world has a lot of fake happiness and denialism, and everything's really fine. Why? What? And then there's the trauma under it, and then there's what you are under that, which is miraculous. That's God you, that's fulfillment, that's healing, that's way happier than happy. That's like whole. That's you realized. And you'll notice that if you undo false happiness for a second or distracting happiness, there might be sadness. And sometimes God really wants that sadness out. And so the sadness needs to be heard too. And this is why being can be so powerful, because if you're being long enough and not what do I do and hyper, all over what do I do is even to mask up sadness or trauma or fear or misery or scared, whatever. And we create this kind of self that's layers away from God, and that's why we're in so much pain. Layers away from what God is. And this self we created acts as if it's in charge and it's separate from God. This self is different than the God that wants to work through you and wants to create and guide you and hold you. That's your home. But you created a separate one, and that one's in charge, and there's nothing more lonely than that. There's nothing more lonely than being this other self God that really is a destructive God because it's not connect to source. So it has to destroy itself at one point, and you'll notice that's what your ego wants to do. One of the things your ego wants to do is destroy you. Why do you think it wants you to eat the cake and go drink and go party and sabotage something and insult someone and fight and be attacked and attack? Why do you think it wants to do that? It wants to do that because it wants to kill you. The ego, in a way, wants to kill you. It wants to destroy us, right? And so when we make our ego our God, we're in this place of like making these decisions that aren't our truest selves because God wants you connected to it. And so it goes, create something that if it doesn't want to connect to it, it sabotages itself, it addictions itself, it numbs itself, all these different things. So we have this artificial happiness, which is actually the ego. And it's sitting on top of a bed of pain. And when you're going, what do I do? You're in the egoic false self, and it is here seeking answers. And a lot of the answers that it seeks, it'll also destroy. That's why a lot of people really want money and then they sabotage it because they don't want God, they want money. But they're still disconnected from their source. So they get money, but then they get it and they go, well, this is different than my story. So they sabotage it. There's a reason lottery winners go broke. It's like they want it, but then they don't want it. They really want that thing, and then they also don't want it. Right? So there's this positive, but false positive layer that's in the positive. I got everything I wanted. Then there's under it pain and sadness that you will have to hear if you're just being. And a lot of times, if you like wake up and you just start to feel pain, my dare to you is to be. Don't grab the phone. Don't go do anything. Just stay lying down and listen for a while and really listen and get intentional and be like, I want to know what I am. And I know that this pain isn't me, but it needs to be seen by the real me and by God. So this pain will start to be like real pain. And the old habit, when you start to feel real pain, is to grab something, to do something, to numb it, to fix it, to go get a latte, call someone, go do something because you're feeling pain for a minute. But if you'd allow yourself to be, the pain will subside and it will die. And then you start to go, whoa, who was that? Who was that who decided how the world was supposed to be? Who was that that's trying to control everything and not really follow the will of God and what God has for you? Who was that that was trying to run everything? That wasn't me. That was a kid created so that this thing that I'm feeling right now would never be seen again. And we spend our whole life trying to avoid pain versus heal the pain because the pain isn't the truth. And if you listen long enough, it'll just crack. And it shows up, first of all, as just pain. And then it might turn into anger. So you have blame. And then you can just watch it blame something. It's mad about that. It's mad about that. Then it might soften by turning into hurt. I feel hurt that they did that. Now your focus isn't on them. It's on you or the circumstance or whatever you're worried about. Then you start to become a space for it. And you finally get to not only am I hurt, but there's a feeling under it. I'm scared. I'm miserable. I'm lost. And then you start to realize that thing that I feel was never allowed. That's the problem. That's the pain. That dark fear, that dark sadness was never allowed. It was always numbed, not only in childhood, but then your whole life. If you had parents that didn't let you feel fully, then that energy is still numbed in your body. And then we have a false identity as a doer that's totally unconsciously addicted. And it's on top of this sad, hurt pain that if you allow yourself to connect to the field and really listen, and don't keep fighting to stay in a smaller box. Don't fight to stay in a smaller box. Don't get so invested in a world that you want to run because God's got it. But God needs you to surrender your control and your argument with and your has to be. It's so crazy how much we don't want to just say take over because there's nothing more insane than arguing with what is. It's so weird to be like, for instance, right now you have a society of people, like most people right now are the most polarized ever in our country right now because both sides politically that are running, people are violently horrified of the other side, right? So they want to fix it by getting caught. And do what you want, vote whatever you need to do, but it's very easy to get caught. I've done this so many times where you're caught in it. Like looking at it is going to change anything. You know that? Like just feel that. Looking at a giant outside circumstance over and over and over again isn't going to change it, but it will keep you trapped. It will keep you imprisoned because what you're trying to control is actually controlling you, right? Are you trying to control a circumstance? Well, it's got a hold on you if you're trying to control it. If it's the worst thing in the world for that thing to happen, then it's got a hold on you. So what you're trying to control is really controlling you. Anything you're trying to control is controlling you. Isn't that crazy? Anything. Even if you're triggered by someone, if you're, ugh, don't do that. Okay, they're controlling you. They control your feelings, your emotions, your world, everything. Right? So if something can control you, then we don't know and haven't realized God. Because the more you go up in consciousness, the more you connect to the field than content. You start to be more fascinated by the field than the passing mortal content in the field. And so we're moving up in vibration and becoming the field. And the more we become the field, the more we declare we are surrendering to God's will. We are surrendering to what God has for us. And you will start to see something so trippy. You will start to see the world outside of you show up in you, and you will think this is about the world outside of you. But it's actually an avatar of the world outside of you that's inside of you. It's very different than the actual world. Right? So many people, for instance, have a vision of what's coming next week with the election. And they think that it has to be their candidate because the other one will be the worst thing. In your body is this energy where you can picture outcomes or whatever, your circumstances with a spouse or whatever, that actually exists inside of you. So you have a partner inside of you and the actual partner that you actually have no control of. You have a mother-in-law or a mother inside of you, a father inside of you, a Trump inside of you, a Kamala and Kamala is how you say it, inside of you, all those different things. And then there's the actual ones outside of you that you truly have no control over. But they trigger you because there's an artificial world that exists within your body that needs to be healed too. Because here's a great quote from Course in Miracles. As within, so without. When you heal the world that's inside of you and it's truly released, you will see the world outside of you mirror it. The world inside of you is this control aspect. And when you notice you think of something and you start to feel fear, you're not feeling fear because of the actual situation. You're feeling fear because of your avatar of the situation that's inside of you. And you have a world inside of you that's actually the world outside of you, but it's not. So the world outside of you goes, oh, that's the world they see. That's the world we create. So you have an election happening inside of you. And if you're trying to control it and you're worried about it, you're seeing different outcomes or whatever, that's your own war inside of you. That outside is the real thing that you don't have control over because God knows what God's doing. And we don't. We cannot see from the 1/1000th of a lens that God has. And we're sitting here trying so hard to control things with no awareness and no ability actually to even control it. Did you know that too? You can't, we learned that in the hot seat on Monday. But even when you think you control something, you aren't even controlling it. You have no control. But if you decide to surrender that you have no control and stop arguing with it and resisting it and trying to feel some semblance of control so that you can be an abandoned from God child that runs everything falsely, then the controller, the you that wants to control, is always going to be in an argument with what is, and that's true insanity. That's true insanity. And sometimes you'll notice you have to go through stages. You have to go through the stages of grief. So one of the things you'll notice when you picture a circumstance, you might picture a way it could have been different. That's the bargaining stage of grief, right? You're going back to, I remember, I wish I had said it this way. I wish I had done it this way, or I wish they did it this way. You start to go through this negotiation. That's a bargaining stage. You start to realize, okay, I'm in a stage of grief right now. And I have a thought of how the world's going to be or my circumstance is going to be, and it's coming up, and I'm just watching it bargain. I'm watching a character go, if only I had it done this way, or if only I fix it this way. And you can become present and watch it bargain because it's going through a mourning process. It's about to die. So it's bargaining, right? And it's going through a stage of grief. And at one point, if you keep watching it, it'll get tired of bargaining. It'll get tired of arguing with. It'll get tired of its hope that escapes the light that it is, and it'll just fall apart. And you'll go to a place of acceptance. And when it falls apart, you realize that wasn't me. And it falls apart, and then you're here. And then maybe a new thing will come up, a new pain, a new fear, a new challenge, a new darkness will come up. And there it is, there it is. And you think it's you. And you'll go through stages of trying to fix the outside, but you're trying to change the outside so you don't feel the pain that's inside. You're trying to change the world outside so that you don't have to feel the pain that's inside. So you're just saying, go back in, not leave lies. These are lies inside. But if you allow yourself to just be for a second, these will move forward. They come up and they leave. They come up and they leave. So I want to dare you to allow yourself to spend a lot of time listening and being so we can move from the false stage of denialism and addiction that's built to keep a false separate you going. Let that leave. And then be, and watch how the being brings to light sadness and trauma and darkness and misery. And then you go, that's not true. And then it just falls away its own way. The real amazing thing is when you finally surrender to God and you go, please take over. Please tell me what I don't know. Please heal me. Please, you run this. I don't run this. You kind of humble yourself and allow yourself to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Would you take over? Would you help me with this? You really go to a place where it will come in and help you. It will take over. And it will show you the thing, and it'll bring to light the thing, and you just keep looking at it, but don't do anything because it's on its way out. It's coming up because it's coming out. So allow yourself to be, and imagine that the world is trying to move from a false egoic self that we just totally normalized in all of history into this true you, right? This real you that is not separate from source, that is not arguing with source, that is not in a debate with source, is not in a bargaining with source, is now. And it's God working through you and giving you a magical world to do it. You want to change the world. You heal these little things inside that are totally not true. You move up in vibration by moving into the real you. So being is actually a higher vibration than excitement, right? Being helps the lies come out too, but it'll be a little withdrawal-y. It'll be like an alcoholic going to rehab. It's like pain and, I really want this thing. I really want, and it's really painful sometimes when it's like, it's me dying. It's not even a habit. It's like, it feels like it's me dying, but it's not you dying. It is not you dying. That is not you. You are the infinite. You are the field. You are so much more. When you listen to the field, it goes, okay, release that, release that. And it'll move you into a place of being that is so profound. And it'll be something you've never experienced before, but it's miraculous. It's a miracle. It's a miracle you that can do things that are beyond the laws of what we know. It can actually make miracles. If one miracle has ever happened that you know of, ever on the planet, that means they're possible. And the you that's separate from God is not capable of miracles. And when they've studied how life works, almost nobody was connected to the actual source. And we're in a time where you can decide, I want to know what I am. I am here to seek the truth of what I am. And as David Hawkins said, it's because you desire enlightenment that it's your destiny. It's your destiny. It wouldn't have called to you ever if it wasn't something that you know is there. And it's just a matter of being willing and sitting through a little bit of pain and being determined. And it also requires the challenge of moving towards something that you don't have any understanding of what it is, because the understander will never get it. You start to follow a calling and you don't know why you're going, but you have to go. That's where your power is. You go, what is this? I can feel it. I know. You can feel it, you know. You don't know what it looks like. You don't know what'll happen, but you know you have to know. I dare you to decide to create an intention to know that. I dare you to decide. So, because otherwise, a lot of people can do this thing. If they don't have that intention and say, I'm in, I'm all the way in, it can be very easy to go back and forth where you go, I'm in, but it hurts, so I don't know that I want to. I'm in, and so then it has kind of the energy of like an alcoholic going to rehab, but really staring back at the bar the whole time. So they're kind of being dragged into rehab, but they don't want to do it. So they're not really participating with it. You have to decide, I want to know what I am. I'm all in. And you will see the world change around you. You will see that when you're free of your triggers about things, it can finally heal and merge and do things. You're going to flip out when you start to really realize how quantum physics works and how it's actually a mirror of you. Right? And so we're here to hear these triggers, these fears that are in here until they're gone, and then see what the world does on the other side of it. That's why you're on this planet. Or at least that's why I'm on this planet. And it's an intention that'll make life way more fun than just going to TGI Fridays every week. It's way more magical than happy hour and just getting your stuff done and working and existing and picket fence and dying. There's so much more trying to happen. And you can still have those things, but be intentional about why you're here. Be intentional. I'm in. And so I believe for me, my life has changed so dramatically in the last 5 years because I point blank said, merge me with my soul no matter what the cost. And because I said that out loud and so many things started changing, I got to participate fully with it. I got to know that's what's happening. That's what's happening. So my intention started changing things too. Because if I was just aimless and going, what is this? What is this? What am I doing? Why do I feel this way? Then I'm not participating with it. So it's just throwing me around. But I could just say, merge me with my soul, no matter what the cost. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I know why this pain's here. I'm in. Bring it on. I'm here. I know why this issue's here. I know why that person said that. I know why I'm triggered by this. I know why I'm triggered by that politician or that thing or what they said or how they spun it or the media, whatever. Because there's a media inside of you that you're mad at. There's a Trump or a Kamala inside of you that you're mad at. Isn't that crazy? Whatever it is, we're just mad at ourselves, and that's insanity, right? But if we go, I'm on this planet, merge me with my soul. I want to nail it on this life. I don't know what happens after, but I don't think there's any harm in opening up and healing the karma, the old energy, the ancestral trauma, the history, potentially past lives, whatever, by being present and accidentally also healing the world. When you read David Hawkins' book, you'll start to realize when he goes up the scale in vibration, he goes up in 500, he goes into the enlightenment stages of love. 540 is unconditional love. As he goes up into the 800s and 900s, you start to get to all of humanity has now healed through you. Isn't that weird? If you are open and listen, you can will your way into healing the planet. How about we do that? But you don't do it through effort and work and staying in all your traumas. You do it from finding what you are. And you will trip out when you see the world mirror what you just did. If you'd like to join us on our Absolutely Everything Pass where that talk came from or anything else, join us at kylecease.com/unlocked.